Hey, guys, I forgot to start the recording earlier, so we missed the first part of that, but that's okay. We'll get to the second part of it here.
Okay, so who's going to hit continue?
I just did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So bring it. Yeah. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. There may not be enough. No, I'm wanting it to be a vertical.
Well, all right, we'll do a vertical. Oh, crap. Okay. Come on. I never can figure this out.
There you go.
Now, let me get it down to 4x5.
A little bit. Give me a little bit more of the room on the left. Yeah. Keep going. There you go. Something like that. But I give it a little more headroom.
So sorry, we still see the message on the screen.
It's not on my computer.
I think you have to click it
Click what?
where it says, "Do you want to continue or leave the meeting?" I think you have to click it.
I did click it, and it's gone from my
but I
screen.
think everybody has to click it.
Oh, everybody. Every user has to click it. Okay.
Yeah, I cleared it by clicking it.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. I give it a, yeah. Yep. There you go. Even a little more on the top. Yep. That's good. Something like that. I mean, I don't know what those out of focus, looks like lily pads elements are doing to it. And that simplifying that elegant shape is, and then those nice colors is what I think I would do.
I might add a little clarity, see what that does. That makes the contrast in the feathers pop a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at this. See, opening up the shadows and a little bit of clarity opens up. We see a little bit more of the feather structure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
This one's real nice, and I worked on this. I'll describe what I did. This is very subtle. There's some very delicate tones out here in the white. And so I started by, and it's not overexposed either. The histogram is okay.
Doesn't look like it is, yeah.
But so what I'm going to do is just lower the highlights just a touch, and it brings up, you get more detail out here, a little bit of detail down in here now that we didn't have before. And now what I'm going to do is come in here, see with an exposure, make sure that auto mask is there. And I'm going to erase a little bit. And come back in this brush and add a little contrast. So I'm adding contrast just to the gizmo here.
Mm-hmm.
And let's look and see what that does. So there is the original. So you get a little more detail in the subtle white, and you get a little more pop in the central object. That's what I do.
Yeah, the only thing that I might say about that is I might do it a little more on the central. Yeah.
All right, let me go back and.
Not that you necessarily need to. It's just that's the direction I might go, is even a little more on that.
All right, I'm going to erase a little bit down here, I think. All right, something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a quick and dirty, but this could be played with. But anyway, I just wanted a little more detail in the subtle whites.
Right, I agree. You want more texture in that petal.
This is quite nice the way it is. I might, if you look at this, most of the tones it's very low key, and you could just by increasing exposure a touch,
yeah,
somewhere in there. This is personal taste too. You know, that's also a cool image. I just thought it appeared to me it was just a little dark. So that's about what I'd do.
I agree with that. Because you want it basically to be a silhouette, and there is good separation, especially with that hand, the forward hand playing in the sand, and nice illumination of the child's face. So yeah,
But that adds a little more brilliance and a little more tonal range to it.
I agree. And there's good rim light on his arm too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Okay, so we already did this one, so let's look at this one. This one is it's really a nice shot.
Yeah. What happens when you open up the shadows on that?
Well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up the shadows a little bit. Whoops.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, maybe I have a, maybe lower the contrast just a touch. I don't know. Let's see if this does anything. We may not like this. Let's see what that looks like. That's the original. Now we get a little more openness in the shadows.
Absolutely.
And I think the original, the top edge of the frame is a little too hot. So I think that gradated filter helps that a little bit.
I think the composition there is really nice. And I do agree with opening up the shadows because that reflection in the water, it really brings that out. I think that's a stunning image. I think that would probably do well.
Yeah,
in a contest or yeah.
That's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
This is an image that I put up. I couldn't figure out what to do with it. There's no tonal range. It looks like it's a mirror. It's a mirror image that's been done in some manner. But the problem I have with it is that they're burnt out highlights, and I don't know. And there's also there's no dominant feature. I don't know what to look at. So I don't know what to do with this one. Tom?
Is this, it almost looks like it's a vertical image of I mean, like it's turned on its side. Like
No, it's a reflected image. You see, if there's there's a center line right down the
yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess the reason I thought that is because I've taken some images though.
Oh, I see what you're talking about. Hang on a minute.
Yeah, I've got an image of the Ohoopee River.
You think that's it?
Yeah, it almost looks like that might, no, but that's not it either. Yeah,
well,
turn it where turn it upside down from where it is now. Yeah, keep going. There you go. That's an album cover, man. Absolutely.
An album for what?
Probably some kind of prog rock group like Yes or yeah.
Anyway, I don't think it has a center of interest.
Yeah, I think it's just about pattern.
Yeah. Okay, this is really very nice.
Yeah, is that a nest over there to the? Just to the right?
Here's what I'd do. I would come down a little bit. I don't think the really interesting part of this picture to me is the blue part, and the yellow part adds a little contrast. So, but I don't think that cloud structure does anything for it much. I would just come down here.
So, in my opinion, you're not only getting rid of unneeded area there that's not really adding much to the image. It's also emphasizing those horizontal layers in the image when you
It is.
change the shape of it. So
And
I might
so,
even bring the bottom up a little bit too.
well, let's just see.
Like, yeah, and maybe not that, yeah, like right about there.
All right. So now we can play with this a little bit. Notice the histogram. There are no blacks in this picture, and I would really like to have a black, so I'm going to reduce the black a little bit.
He's
So
going to be quoting Ansel Adams about 88 keys on the piano here in a second.
Yep, get that black in there. And then we can play with, now that this is a matter of personal preference. This is a very soft, gradated feel right now, which is very, very nice. We could bump up the contrast a little bit, and that you might like that better. You might not like that better. You could play with the haze, take out a little bit of the haze. Now we've got even more layers.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots of things you could do with this. We might.
The other thing about bringing up the contrast is that it brings the sky color down into that fog.
That's right.
There at the lower part of it better, and it integrates the whole image better. I like it with a little higher contrast. I understand the softness, that's nice, but I don't know that you lose that totally when you do that. I like the higher contrast myself.
Yeah, I like, of course I like the way I did it.
Yeah.
All right. This is,
Sparrow.
if you look at the histogram, it's very nicely exposed. The only thing that I thought to do with this is take a little brush and let's make this pop just a little bit in the head so we can see the eye a little bit better. And I don't know, maybe let's see if we reduce the highlights a touch. That doesn't do much, so I'd leave it. That's about all I'd do to that. Maybe it seems like there's a lot of height to this picture. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what to do to bring out that sparrow a little bit more.
Well, certainly crop it would bring it out more.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's lots of ways you could crop this too. You know, there's a whole.
I'm kind of thinking that one of the ways that might be cool to crop it is so that those lines seem to be radiating from the sparrow, and they just kind of end where they, like right where your right border is right now, is the right place for the border to be. So go back. And
Okay.
then bring the top up. And then bring the left side in, something like that.
Well, if you look at this gizmo, this crop thing here, we've got the tail line on that diagonal. We've got this bunch of weeds on that diagonal. So I don't know if you're aware of this, but you can cycle through all these compositional grid lines with tapping the O key.
Mm-hmm.
So we get the dead center line, we get that kind of thing. That looks interesting too. We've got that line goes right through the eye. We get this brush. And then this is a spiral thing. It's back to this classic rule of thirds. But anyway, I just open up the eye a little bit and play with you could play with the cropping to the nth degree, because there's a lot of crops that would work.
Mm-hmm.
The question from the chat is, you're doing a lot of different crops here and non-constrained to certain dimensions. In a digital competition, that's not a problem, is it?
I certainly don't think so. No. I think the picture demands the crop.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we should be locked into a strict 2x3 or whatever. You know, sometimes you can shoot, all of our cameras shoot 2x3 normally, but sometimes a 16:9 crop is really dramatic.
Mhm.
So I think
A lot of times I'll use the 16:9 crop, and I know that's what I'm going to shoot when I shoot it. I mean, I shoot it that way, knowing I'm going to crop it. And I think I agree with Jim. I think it's whatever makes the image work the best.
this is another dramatic image with very saturated color, and the what I would do is I would do something like this. Just bring it down. I think, there's just too much up there.
Hmm.
So, in a sense, these waves popping up here are kind of the center of interest. And with all this dramatic saturated color, where do you look? I mean, this is clearly a lighter part of the picture here, but this is where the action is, right in here. So I think just lowering that down emphasizes the action. You still get plenty of range in the sky. Anyway, that's what I'd do.
Yep, I think right about there is where I would consider taking it. Yeah, and I may yeah, I like it. I think that's what I'd do with it. I may make it less of a pano and more of a 16:9. I think that's a little what would 16:9 look like? Or
Well,
not
let's see if one of these things.
9:16 come in there?
No, it doesn't have one of those.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, never mind.
All right. So let me get back to the.
Whoever's picture it is, try it in 9:16 at home. See what you think of that.
Let me think. I'm just trying to see what that might be.
No, that would be actually would crop off, I think, some of the ends rather than, yeah.
Well, anyway, you can
Yeah.
play with that.
Yeah, no worries.
All right. This one, this is a very nice picture.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
And it's been, the outer edges have been toned down, which I like. So, and I played with this one this afternoon. This already starts at a very high level. I mean, there's not much that needs to be done to this picture. But here's what I played with this afternoon. I'm going to go to a brush, and I'm going to go to, I don't know, maybe clarity, a clarity brush. And I'm going to make sure my auto mask is on. The clarity brush enhances the contrast of the midtones.
Mm-hmm. That's nice.
And then I'm going to do another brush and make this a sharpness brush. And I'm going to pull the sharpness down and come in here. I'm going to leave those eggs alone.
Absolutely.
Because everything is so needle sharp in this picture. What I'm trying to do is make the only thing that's needle sharp is the birds.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just coming in here with the softness brush. I think it's the outer edges are toned rather nicely. So I'm just trying to take away the sharpness of this outer part here. Maybe come in here a little bit too. And reduce the size of that. This is going to be very subtle. Okay, and let me see what that looks like. Now see, you can see the okay. This is the way I've done it. This is the original.
Hmm.
This is very subtle. I mean, I hope you can see it on the screen. But this didn't need much at all. In fact, it was fine the way it was.
Hmm.
Anything else, Tom?
Yes, there's something definite that I want you to do.
All right.
Go down to the bottom right of the image
Yep.
and type in Tom Wilson. That's awesome. That's a beauty. That's a beautiful photograph.
And it's a very nice in photojournalists when they photograph people talk about moments,
Yeah.
capturing that really nice moment. And I don't know what these birds are thinking, but it appears to me they're having a nice moment.
Yeah. You've got the eggs in there. I mean, it's just stunning. And to a certain extent, I would call it Audubon-esque. I think it's really a stunning. It's also a little bit Porter-esque too, Elliot Porter.
It is, and I think this would fare very well in a competition.
I do too. Yeah, I do too.
Okay, this one, it's all pattern, and it's an intriguing pattern. But let's look at the histogram. The histogram is not using, we don't have a black and we don't have a white. So the first thing I'd like to do, well, get rid of that brush, is introduce a black. So we'll do that. And then we can play with exposure and see that brightens it up some. Too much. Don't want to go overboard here. And maybe put in a little contrast, and I don't know. And then I just noticed this. Okay, it's okay the way it is. I think that I find this part of the wall over here kind of intriguing. I find this stuff intriguing. I don't find this intriguing over here to the left. So I don't know. I'm going to play with eliminating that. I kind of like that better. Now we're starting. And the other thing too is that sometimes if you have an element coming right out of the corner, sometimes that's an improvement. So I'm going to raise this a little bit. Yeah, maybe not. Anyway, this could be played with, and I might come down here to the curve.
Mm-hmm.
And introduce even a little bit more contrast. Let's see what that looks like. See, it's kind of overall grayish there.
That's where it started, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
that's the way it started. And that's sort of the direction I would take it. This could be played with quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have more separation of the tones. We have more different gray values than we have here.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. I think the only thing I would do with that is maybe play with the crop a little bit so that rectangular area isn't right in the middle like it started out to be. But the main thing that I think I would do is just what Jim has done, which is stretching the histogram.
Yep.
So that you get a 0 black and a 255 white.
Yep. All right. So this is a very nice picture here, right?
Yeah, that's so cool.
And we don't have a black, but I'm not going to be too concerned about that right now. This is kind of a high key picture.
And it's in fog, it looks like.
It's in fog or something. But what I want to work with is to see if I can bring out a little more contrast in the stone here and still leave it predominantly high key. So let me see if I can bump up the contrast a little bit and maybe even bump up the exposure, bring down the black a little bit. Maybe let's see what the dehaze does. I'll take out a little bit of haze, maybe. Anyway, that could be played with. See that right now it has a haze over it. And then if we increase the contrast in the stone a little bit, that makes it that it still has the overall effect as the original, but I think the stone pops a little more.
Yeah, it's just different moods. I mean, based on what you do there, you can bring out all sorts of different moods.
Exactly.
And you know, one looks almost like the change that you made makes it almost look like a lithograph in an old book. But the first one, you know, makes me think of Avalon, you know, with the misty sort of soft thing. So I think it's just playing with the moods you want, and you can tell that just by warming it up or increasing the contrast, you can totally change the mood in that. And then I think also you could play with different crops on that too.
This could be cropped into a vertical,
Yep.
strong horizontal. It could crop this any number of ways. Yep. But what I did was I warmed it up a little bit and I enhanced the contrast in the stone, and it's still a high key picture. I resisted the urge to go really deep on the blacks. Let me see if we go all the way on the black. That's too far. And you could play with how black you want to go on the blacks too. So, you know, somewhere in there. But see, there's an overall blue cast right on the original. So I'm just taking out that blue cast. That was primarily the dehaze slider, I think, that did that.
Yeah, it warmed up that stone a great deal. Great deal.
This is a very nice picture here. Now, Tom Wilson is the Dragonfly Whisperer. He has more fantastic dragonfly pictures than anyone I know of, except I think this one is a very fine dragonfly picture.
It looks like a female Needham skimmer, either that or a golden wing.
But
I think it's a golden wing, but it could also be a Needham's.
If you look at the histogram, it's pretty crowded on the right. And what I thought to do was just drop the highlights a little bit to see if we could get more detail in the wing structure. And maybe drop the exposure a touch. Let's see what that does. I think we get a little more contrast in the wing structure, but there's not much needed to be done to this, in my opinion.
I actually like it as originally presented. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, this is fine. This is really fine the way it is. I just was trying to get a little more detail in the wing structure, but it's very fine the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a nice image. I also like the way the head's turned.
Yep.
Notice how it's turned sideways.
Well,
is the person who photographed that? Do they know? I think it's a. Looks like it could be a golden wing, but it also looks like it could be a Needham's. They're hard to tell apart. It's usually in the thorax that you can tell them apart, but I can't really tell with this one. But I think it's a golden wing.
This is also very nicely done. And the only thing I did was play with this a little bit in terms of not just a little bit, like a third of a stop darker on the outer edge. that's about all I do. If you wanted to,
Click that on and off, so where we see it and we don't. Yeah, I think a little bit, but boy, as presented, that's really nice.
it is very nice to start with. Both, and we might also, let's just see if this makes any difference. Let's do exposure. Make sure the auto mask is on.
What I really like about this image a lot is that a lot, and I think it's the same person who did the dragonfly, is that the way it's presented, you know, a lot of times we kind of make our images of dragonflies and butterflies and so forth sort of real scientific, but this is not. This is got a really nice, artful, almost a greeting card kind of quality to it. And that's not a diss. That's a compliment. It's got a really nice feel to it that doesn't feel like a scientific, you know, ID photo.
Is it got a really nice luminous tonal range too?
It does, and just the angles of those stems.
Yeah,
Just
let's
really
just.
nice. You also get an indication of the horizon back there in the back by the gradient in the back.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes, it's very nice. Okay. The one thing I played with this afternoon was the dehaze slider. Now watch this. Just a little bit of that dehaze slider that makes that sky pop a little bit. Maybe a little bit more exposure. You could play with this ad infinitum too, but I think a little more exposure and a little bit of dehaze. Let's see, let me put that back to.
Try the texture on it too.
Yeah, texture. Okay. See that really pops it. And here, of course, the sky is important. It's and so we don't really want to crop the sky. So that's a pretty nice picture.
It is. Yeah, the level of all of these I find impressively high.
Yep.
Quality of all of them, you know, the average quality.
Okay, this one, it's very high key here. What I played with was, let me see where we are here.
Yeah, can you bring down that sky a bit?
Yep, that's what I want to do. I want to bring that down a touch.
Because you might even be able to make that kind of stormy.
It certainly could be. All right, let me start there, and then let me open up the shadows a little bit. See, just look at the bottom of the boat, that rust line. If we open up the shadows, that we can see that a lot better, a little bit. And then what I would do, or what I played with, let me get an exposure slider in here. So that's kind of what I'd do.
Yep.
Get a little more shadow detail, A little more. Now we've got more tonal range too. We've got a darker sky with some clouds. We've cleaned up the white in the pilot's cabin, and we opened up the shadows in the bottom of the boat. This is a lovely picture, and I think this is part of an engagement. There were some other pictures in this folder that look like it might be an engagement thing, because this beautiful young lady is wearing a long flowing dress and getting it wet in the seas, which is not a normal situation. So I think it's probably a engagement picture, or pre-wedding picture or something. But anyway, here, when I saw this, I see this beautiful young lady here, and we don't see this guy is kissing her. So I want to emphasize the moment. And so here's what I'd do. This is rather severe, I know. Bang.
Hmm.
Now we still got the moment, but now we're emphasizing the beautiful young woman, and I just think that's a more dramatic cropping of this particular picture, I think. Do you agree?
Yeah, I was just thinking that's definitely a father of the bride crop.
Yes.
Get that boy out of there.
And so, and what has always puzzled me is why the young men of today, they somehow want to grow a beard but don't quite know how, or something. They have that 4-day stubble, which
There you go.
I guess that's the style. But
Yeah, there's lasers. Yeah, that they're designed to give you that. Yeah.
from my opinion, if you're gonna grow a beard, grow one. Anyway, this is very nice. Nice tonal range. Do you want to do anything to this, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I like it too. The only thing I'm kind of thinking of is that that I might chop off a little bit of the sides and make it, instead of a 2 by 2 thirds, make it a 4 by 5. Still a horizontal, still a landscape shape, but more like 4 by 5 than. So maybe not whack that much off, but some off. Yeah, like that. Yeah, kind of right in there.
Well, yeah, that you could play with composition here, but the lighting's terrific.
Mm-hmm. No,
It's
change on that at all.
it's got a reasonably full tonal range, and you could play with this too. You could darken the sky a little bit with a gradated filter. That might be a little bit better. Maybe bring that, just make it subtle. That's a matter of opinion,
Yeah.
I think I'd darken it a little bit. It doesn't need much.
Mm-mm. Nope.
Now this one,
Royal turns.
here's what I thought to do here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this one is already a bit over processed, because let me go a little bit higher here. We've got this,
All those halos over,
yeah,
a little bit of over sharpening maybe.
yeah. When you process your pictures, ideally, when you're done, you do not want to see a halo, because that's to a judge that just says, "Oh, they didn't process it right." So be very careful about those halos.
That said, that particular crop right there, it really emphasizes the relationship of that one flying bird and the others kind of, yeah, I like that crop a lot. And you know that all of a sudden that little foreground piece of greenery and that stick coming in from the right hand side all of a sudden help with the composition of that image.
And I very carefully, I purposely did not crop out this guy's beak,
Yeah,
because
I agree.
things at the edge of the frame, whether they're human legs, arms, what have you, if you crop out a little bit of something, it looks very odd.
It does. You either crop a lot or, yeah.
Yeah, crop a lot or don't crop
Hmm.
on a,
And
let's just say an appendage.
yeah. I really like that crop. Now it depends on if there's enough, if there's enough pixels in that, in that portion of the image to, I don't know how much we've cropped into the image already. So I don't
Well,
know.
it's a pretty good crop already.
Yeah.
That's what,
Yeah,
a third of the image or something.
right. But, I mean, if it's a 50 megapixel camera, that may not be a big deal.
Right.
But anyhow, if there's enough pixels under those birds to do that, then you might consider that.
Jerry, how are we doing on time?
You got a half an hour.
All right, so let me go back and maybe pick up some more. Okay, let's just talk about this one. I don't like this picture, and the reason I don't like it is my eye doesn't see a center of interest that's interesting. I mean, it's a couple of old stone pillars, and there's some palm trees beyond, but there's nobody walking, there's nobody bicycling, there's nobody walking through the gates. It just lacks a focus to me. What about you, Tom?
Yeah, one of the things about leading lines particularly is that they need to lead to a payoff. And that's what I don't see is the payoff here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I sort of agree with that. Yeah, let's move to
This picture is a nice flower picture, but the sky, I think, dominates here. And let's just see what we could do. Yeah, it might be easier to do this too.
mhm.
Something like this, you don't want to overdo it. I mean, that's really easy to use these sliders too far. That's really too far. And the ideal place is to just give you the effect without seeming to go too far.
Mhm.
So let's see what that. Yeah, I mean, I think that helps it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that, an effect like that is sort of like a nice tie. If you're describing a nicely dressed person, if it's a lousy tie, the first thing you'll mention is the tie. If it's a nice tie, you'll just say, hey, they look great, but you won't mention the tie at all. So you don't want to see the effect.
When I was teaching, I always wore bow ties, and the reason I wore bow ties was because, first of all, I tied them myself, and if you're a professor and you're wearing a bow tie, you seem to be more intelligent, I think. So it was a visual appearance. I tried to appear intelligent. Secondly, the bow ties really annoyed my wife, and so there was extra added benefit there. Very nice.
Mhm.
That's this. I think we could do something similar with this one. Just emphasize the flower just a touch more than it is by doing something like that. Just a little bit.
Mhm.
Okay, there's a couple of pictures I want to comment on here. This is the one from this folder we critiqued, but this picture I really like because it's a picture of a person, and I'm a photojournalist.
Yeah.
And it has some lovely things here. We've got this S curve
Mhm.
coming down here, and we've got the flow of her arms. We got this really nice facial expression, and she's having fun. So this is a nice moment. And so this picture is I also like. It's a terrific moment. Just
Mhm.
she's having so much fun, and you can see that in the picture. This one is some sort of painterly effect,
I was going to ask if that was the case. That's what it looks like. Yeah.
and from my personal taste, I don't like to make photographs appear like they're paintings. That's a different medium, but that's personal taste. I
Well,
mean, it's a clever effect, I admit.
yeah. So a couple of things that I might add to that. First, I do think that with lighthouse photographs, I mean, oftentimes, they are well accepted when they have a painterly effect like that. The other thing that I really like about this is the direction of the flag. The direction of the flag complements the direction that those clouds appear to be blowing,
Hmm.
and it gives the idea of a stiff breeze blowing onshore. And I really like a photograph where I can get a sense of what the weather is like, and that's one of the things I like about this picture a lot.
Excellent point. Okay. Oh yeah, here's some of the others in that series. See, there's no way that this is there's no way this woman would be naturally wandering out there getting that dress wet. This is
And that's a yeah, that's
it's a
definitely a uh,
pre
engagement or yeah.
engagement or pre-wedding or whatever you call those things. Yeah, and nicely done, by the way. I mean, I really like the tonal range. I like the treatment. I think these pictures are very nicely done.
Cotton candy clouds.
Okay,
I really like that image.
we did that one. We did that one. Oh, here's another one I played with. We didn't critique this, but let me see what Tom thinks of what I might do here. Um,
I really like how the light is on that where that bill is making contact with the water.
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
What I'm going to try to do is bring out a little more detail in the feathers here by just reducing the highlights just a touch. And
Now bring up the whole exposure. I just want to see.
yeah,
Mm.
I think it does need a little. Let's see what this looks like in comparison. That's a little dark. That is a little more brilliant. Let's see. I'm not going to bring it up that much. And then we might want to play with just lightening the reflection head a bit
Hmm.
and maybe making it, let's have a little more contrast. A little bit. Not too much. You easily could get too far there.
So here's what I would say to the photographer of this one. We're not going to have enough time tonight, but the basis of a really good image is here.
Yes.
There's a really good image here, and it is worth the investment of your time to try to bring that out. And I do think that you'll have a beautiful image. What it's got going for it is the lighting where the bill is making contact with the water, the ripples going outward, and then also just the elegant S curve in the neck of the egret, and then the humped shoulder. That elegant shape is really, really nice. So this is worth spending some time on, and really trying to highlight those things where it really, and think drama, because that's what that picture is loaded with, and just do things to try to bring out the drama in that image. That's what I think about it. I think it's a gorgeous image. And Hinga.
And this, let's see. I don't know. I think, what did I do this afternoon? Let's see. I really like this image too. And there's,
That's kind of the direction I would go. Yeah.
that's a nice image.
Hmm.
That's lovely too. This could be played with. Maybe it needs a touch more highlights. I don't know. Yeah, I think that helps it. All I did was just give it. That's so subtle you may not see it, but on my screen it.
No, I can see. Well, I can see it at least. Yeah.
Yeah. This picture has a lot. It, it Tom can comment on this one. This is a printing the feathers. It had great potential, but I don't think it's quite the right piece of time. It doesn't seem to be. Oh, I'm struggling for words here.
It doesn't seem to be the peak moment.
The arrangement of the feathers, the natural flow of the feathers, it doesn't quite seem to be about right. And I'm sure there was a frame in there at that period of time that would have been better. I just don't like this particular.
Well, the other thing too is that reflections don't always add to an image, and in this case, the reflection is so far away from
it's very far away.
I don't think it's adding. I think it's turning it into two images. And what I think I would do is crop into it. Preferably you would do that in camera, where I'm just getting. So bring up the bottom, even a little more. Even a little more. Yep. Now bring down the top. Something along those lines. Maybe even, yeah, something along those lines where I'm really emphasizing that elegant shape of the wing and what the bird's doing and so forth.
But it doesn't quite seem.
No, I agree, but it's
the flow of the feather. I'm struggling for words here, but the flow of the feathers, the arrangement of the feathers, just doesn't. It's not quite there.
mm-hmm. Look at that.
This is very nice. I like it.
Yeah. You know, zoom back into that, would you? I mean, you ought to play with this. I mean, you can see a little bit of the movement of the stars, and that's fine because but
Right.
I almost would play with this in terms of not de-emphasizing the grain, but emphasizing the grain or the noise and see what that did. I love it the way it is.
I do too. I don't think I'd do anything.
I love it the way it is, but I think it would be interesting to see how making that grainier might make it.
Well, I do see one thing I think I do. I don't like the brightness of this particular object, whatever it is. I think I'd tone that down or use the spot removal thing to remove it.
Zoom into that, would you? Now out a little bit.
Out.
Yeah, now zoom out. I'm trying to see if I can identify. I mean, that should be up around. I think that may be Vega.
I think it's the International Space Station trying to contact me on the ham radio.
Have movement to it, I think, with the color and everything.
Anyway, if we
Could be Jupiter. No, it couldn't. No, it couldn't. Not where it is. Not where it is.
it's that was just too bright for me, but it's a lovely picture. Okay. All right, this one, I'm just looking at it. I don't think the B has enough contrast. What do you think?
No, neither contrast nor brightness.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is come in here with a brush and just swipe this guy a little bit here. And give it some more exposure, more contrast, maybe more clarity. Anyway, that's a direction. That's maybe too much. Let's see. Come back a little bit.
Yeah, that is too much, but it gives you an idea of what that effect is doing. So
let's back it off a little bit. There. That just brightens it up a little bit.
yeah, Jim uses Lightroom. I do all of my image editing in Photoshop. So
That's because he's behind the times.
and that's because I know what works.
This is
Look
lovely.
at there. That's stunning.
See, by comparison, yeah, this is just so cool, right?
Yeah, the eye. Look at the eye. The way the eye grabs that, and everything adds to that. Those swirling feathers on the back of the head add to that, and then the feathers all pointing down to it. I mean, that's just.
We got a very nice tonal range. Let's see, it appears it might be a little blue. Let me just see if I warm that up. If I warm that up a little bit, just a touch.
Yep.
And then I want to come in here with a brush and do the iris enhance and come in here with a little iris enhancement there.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be very subtle as well. But it definitely improves it.
Mm-hmm.
Warming it up slightly, giving the iris enhance. Beautiful picture, beautiful,
yeah,
beautiful symmetry.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the same person who did the Needham skimmer and the.
You are correct, sir.
I think it was a Monarch on pickerel.
Yep, that's the spinner, that's the Monarch. And let's see. This appears very contrasty to me. What do you think, Tom?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks, I mean, and that, sometimes, especially with different, printing mediums, like when people print on metal or, things like that, they want that high contrast kind of blued effect.
Yep.
But I actually kind of like it. I kind of like that metallic. It's got a sort of a metallic look to it that I kind of like. Now, I'm not sure I like the shape of it. And of course, those look like contrails to me, and that always sets my hair on edge a little bit to see contrails. But
I
I mean,
see. I just like it a little bit less contrasty, but you think it's fine. This is one of those things. It's pure taste.
yeah, well, it has to do with what the photographer wants to present.
Right. This
Um,
is contrasty. This is a little bit less contrasty. Still a very dramatic picture.
yeah.
And here you have to have the sky. You can't crop this. Like, you can't come down here, it destroys it.
No, 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 no.
So you have to have the
You
sky.
could pull a little of that sky out, but not much.
Not much.
Right. Yeah, I think you've already done too much. Yeah.
Yep. Or just leave it.
Right in
Yep.
there. Yeah.
This one um, is a posed picture, which I don't find as attractive as a candid picture. By comparison, the pictures of, well, especially the picture of the little girl reclining in that gizmo that rocks back and forth, that was a candid picture. The coming down the slide is more of a posed picture, but this is entirely posed, and I just don't. It doesn't appeal to me.
The only thing that I might like to see is just a real tight crop where you actually crop into her hair and then into the dog's ears. Okay, and then right into even a little tighter, and then bring that in. I just like to see that. Now that's
Well, that I think that I like your crop there
yeah.
because this this is just all monotone and doesn't contribute. I mean, if you like this picture, you like it because of the eyes. So why don't we just get right down to the eyes?
Yeah.
We could even come in really tight. Well, maybe not.
That's a little yeah.
This is,
Yeah, I
well,
think you need her hair, but yeah.
that's too much. Oh well, it's fun to play with cropping.
But I think you get the idea I think the sand is just taken away
Yep.
from there.
Okay. All right. I have a comment about this one. This one is just way too bright
Yeah,
here.
bring down that highlight. It might be really cool.
Let's see. I don't think this is salvageable, frankly, but let's see.
We bring it down. Let's see what. No, doesn't
It's
do
not.
it.
It's too far gone.
It's too blown. Yeah.
Yep. But breaking down the exposure helps us out here,
Mm-hmm.
the perimeter of it, but it's just too bright. Okay.
Somebody's moved the camera. Looks
Yep.
like on some tree trunks or something.
We don't have, again, this is a picture without a full tonal range, so I don't know what we could do. Let's see if we could.
Yeah, it stretched the contrast and all of it. See what it does.
Just add a little more, by giving it a black and adding a little more brilliance, it brings out the pattern a little more, I think.
Yeah.
Oops. Uh, I don't know what I'd do to this one. I don't. I don't find the composition or the viewpoint attractive on this thing. Maybe a quarter view onto this thing or something because it's so flat. We've got grass, fence, thing, sky. Um, maybe just a different viewpoint might be better. I don't like this one. What about you, Tom?
Well, if I were at that location, then I would understand some of the reasons why the person would want to photograph that. It's interesting and unique, but what is interesting and unique about it, I think, it's the different horizontal lines and then the vertical windows and so forth. So maybe I'd make a 16:9 out of it or whatever, but I don't think that foreground is adding anything to it.
I don't either. But look at this. I'm going to make a severe crop. I'm looking to see what you could do with this situation. Now this is real severe, but let's say you were just at the fence.
Yeah, and just photograph the
and you just photograph something like that.
Yeah.
And maybe have a few more windows or something, but that might be more interesting.
Take the crop away for a minute and bring it back to its original size. And then just crop. Okay, now bring the crop line. Now, no, go up a little bit with that bottom line. Right to the base of that fence. A little, yeah, right about there. Nope, down a little. And now bring it right above that wire at the top. See what that does? Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think that's better. I just don't like the picture.
Yeah, I think that there's something interesting there. I think you need to work with that one some more.
This is a bunch of boat pictures. Let's see. Some of them. This has a full tone range but lacks contrast. So what I would do is work on the contrast in the central area, maybe darken this corner down a little bit.
2-minute warning.
Pardon?
2-minute warning, you said?
2-minute warning. Well, we can be done real quick here. Let's look. Let's see if there's another one here. Oh my, I like that.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah. That was a good turn of events.
Oh my.
Yeah. I love it. To go.
Very nice.
Yep.
And we did this one, and this one just lacks tonal range. And it also lacks, there's no, well, let me just increase the tonal range here to give it some sense of something or other. There's just not, there's no particular interesting pattern here, and the tonal range is kind of odd. There's just not much tonal range. So
yeah, and what I think I would add to that is that I've shot sandhill cranes a lot, and I don't know that this is sandhills. I don't know what it is. I can't really tell. It kind of looks like sandhills, but one of the things that I always like to do is I like to look for, some kind of an interesting graphic shape. And that's the only, because all you got are black dots, right? So that graphic shape has to be interesting or it's a wasted frame. So that's what you're looking for. Unless you get close enough to see detail in the birds.
And it is time to wrap it up. We hope that you have found this interesting. These, after all, are only our opinions, and your opinion is just as valid as ours. We just bring our particular background and experience to this critique, and I hope that you found it useful. We certainly enjoyed doing it. Thank you very much.
And the other thing that I would add is the main takeaway is bring your own critical eye to these things. That if you learned anything from this evening, it's that, work on, I think it was very appropriate for Jim to say that, quote Ansel Adams, that, the negative is the score and the print or final image is the performance of that. And you've got to work as hard on the performance sometime as you do on the original image. So, work your images, especially if you have a good base image, then work it really, really hard and bring everything out, that you can in it.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much. We'll see you all next month.
Okie doke. Thank you.
Night, y'all. Thanks for inviting us.
Our pleasure.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.